So, you decided to return after all. Well, prepare yourselves for tonight's review, for this one is not for the faint of heart. Tonight's film is one of intrigue and mystery, a man playing as God, and a monster he creates. We're here to talk about, of course, the classic monster film, Frankenstein. Frankenstein was based off the novel by famous writer Mary Shelley and was directed by James Whale and stars Boris Karloff. Everyone knows the story of Frankenstein, so there's really no reason to explain the plot here, but I'm gonna say it anyway. So Frankenstein is the story of a mad scientist, Dr. Frankenstein, who grave robs dead bodies and puts them all together to create life. And one fateful night, he creates that life in the form of a monster that we know as the monster or Frankenstein's monster, and soon it begins to wreak havoc. It was really interesting going back and watching this film. This is actually my very first time seeing this film all the way through. I've seen many clips from this film throughout the years, and it's basically been ingrained in my head through all these years. It's just something you can't escape. It's so just in pop culture. I mean, even to the point where Mel Brooks made a spoof movie, Young Frankenstein, and this is where it all started. So how does the film hold up? I think this is a really fun film. It's dated in a lot of ways, and I'll get into some of the problems I have with the film that might not be seen as real criticism, but I'm gonna say it anyway. But also, this is a very good film with some very ballsy stuff in it for 1931 that I'm surprised they even filmed it. I know this film had a lot of problems with censorship, and we'll also get into that. But anyway, let's really get started. First off, the main attraction of this film is, of course, the monster itself, played by Boris Karloff, and he is excellent. He can do so much without saying anything, because the monster doesn't talk in this movie at all. He expresses himself through his facial expressions, and it's really good. You basically see this monster that is just not right. He's basically just an amalgamation of other people. He's dumb, but deep down inside, he's not evil. And I think that's what's fantastic about this is, what is evil? He does something in the film that is very horrific, but is he at fault? Or are we the real monsters? And I think this film begs that question to be answered, or just brought up. Because we see him do certain things in this film, but is it really him? But we see the real humans of the film just do more even horrific stuff, and what's the greater evil here? Also, I really love the gothic architecture of the film. It just has a really nice look to it. I specifically like the castle scene where Frankenstein has started to create the monster, and the laboratory is the most stereotypical laboratory you've ever seen in your life, but it's just filled to the brim with so many things in it that your eye catches, and There's, tubes, there's Tesla coils, there's all this different stuff there, and I just love it when they start to pull the monster up for the electricity to hit him. It's really good stuff. I also really like the score in this film. I'm not exactly sure who did the score for it. I should have probably looked that up before doing the review. But I think it's really good, and specifically, it's incredible during one particular scene, which we will get into right now. And my favorite scene of this film has to be not when the monster kills the little girl, which, if you haven't seen this film or you don't know, of course, the monster comes upon a little girl near a lake and plays with her a little bit. And not meaning to, he doesn't know what he's doing, and he doesn't know what he's doing is wrong. He tosses her in the lake and she drowns, which is horrific upon itself. But later on, after the monster has run away, after realizing what he's done, we get a scene where the father is carrying his little girl, who's now dead, through the streets. And the music is just incredible here. It's so sad, and the cinematography is particularly good in this scene. It's the best part of the film, and that's why it really sticks out to me. You just follow this father through the streets, just as it's pointing the camera towards what's in his arms, which is his little girl, and it's a very horrific and horrifying scene. And what's crazy to me is that a lot of this was actually originally cut from the film. There are edits of this film that just cut out certain things, such as the little girl drowning, or sometimes you don't even see her drown. It's very interesting that this film was censored, and I can understand why. It's honestly very horrifying. Also, something that was originally cut, or was going to be cut, was when Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein, basically proclaims himself that he knows what it's like to be God, which was originally seen as blasphemous. And I think it's a very important scene that I'm glad is back in the movie, because that's very important for his character. And it just shows what playing God is like. Now, as for problems with the film, it's very minimal. In fact, you could almost miss it entirely. Sometimes the editing is very weird, where there's one particular scene that I can call out where somebody is riding around in a carriage, and they're riding through a valley, and then it cuts, and they are like just a few yards away from where they originally were. You don't see them get to that point, so it's like they pop up in one, or they disappear in one place and pop up in the other place. And it's very weird and choppy, and some of the film is like that, but not all of it. And that's really my only big gripe about the film. Also, the second act of the film feels a little empty, with not too much going on, to the point where there's not much plot progression at all. But that's really my only problems with the film. Overall, I understand completely why this is a classic horror film. This is a very good film with some great cinematography, great use of music, and a very iconic monster and performance with some very horrific stuff. that I think is much more terrifying than the monster himself. With all that said, I'm going to give Frankenstein an 8 out of 10. Well, anyway, guys, I want to thank you for watching this review. This was a lot of fun. So, don't forget to come back next week. We'll be looking at a film from the 1940s, so look forward to that. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next review.